sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay,
Sir. I start now, sir. Hello, a very good evening, all of you. Yesterday we were discussing about the important terms, apparel terminology, part 1, and today we are continuing the class in part 2. And before that, I'll be introduce myself. I am RAMESH BABU, Training Officer, National Skill Training Institute for Women, Trichy, Tamil Nadu. And before start, I must thank our Directorate General of Training DGT and National Instructional Media Institute NIMI for this nice opportunity. Okay, let's go to the topic. Yesterday, we were discussing the terms. So yesterday I told you that we were discussing the terms, and I have selected the terms which are very important terms. At the same time, some of the terms are uncommon, but we should know. In the way only I take it, because terminology, apparel terminology is like an ocean. If I take class means even that 1 week also not sufficient to conclude, because it's the endless one. Lot of terms are there, and I want to discuss some important terms. At the same time, some of the terms we have to know that we are not frequently using. That also I selected. In that way only I selected, because I have been allotted only 2 days only. So in that way only I just selected. Okay. So yesterday, we had discussing about grain line. That time only just stopped. So what do you mean by grain line? The line which denotes the direction of the pattern to be placed on the fabric is known as grain line. Normally, the grain line indicates the alignment of the pattern with fabric warp grain. Yesterday, we were discussing about what do you mean by grain. A grain can be defined as a direction of fabric in a direction of yarn in a fabric. Okay, and normally, see, in this pattern also we are drawing one long, like big long line like this. This is called as grain line. So this pattern grain line we definitely have to draw, because normally this pattern grain line denotes the warp direction. So that in that way that we have, while placing the pattern during pattern layout, we must place the grain line should match, should parallel, should align with the warp direction. That means lengthwise direction of the fabric. Yesterday we were discussing about this only. See, here this is a diagram. This is a fabric end, this fabric end, this is selvage, this is fabric face, this is fabric back. Here the garment is placed. So this is selvage, means normally the warp grain is parallel to the selvage. So see, we have to place the pattern the way that the pattern grain line of the pattern should parallel to the warp grain. So normally the grain line on the pattern is indicating the direction of the placement, pattern placement. Suppose if the grain line we have to draw like this, means the pattern should be placed in that way. It should be rotated in that way. Normally the neck will come in this space like that. So the grain line denotes. So why we are just marking the grain line? At the same time, we should know how we can play, what is the main use of grain line. 2 important use. See, normally we can draw the grain line in this direction, lengthwise or crosswise, or this is the bias. If 100%, if 45-degree accurate angle means that's called a true bias. So lengthwise grain like that. So if we are using one check fabric or striped fabric, means if I drawing the lengthwise direction in this, means I will get one type of design, and in crosswise direction means the pattern grain line in crosswise direction means I can get another type of design. See this figure. See, if I'm using the striped fabric, if I draw the grain line on the lengthwise, means so I have to place the pattern on the parallel to the warp direction, so I can get the design like this. So if I use the same striped fabric, but I have to get the crosswise stripes, horizontal stripes like that, means I have to draw the grain line on the pattern in that way, like that, in crosswise direction, in horizontal way. Then only the pattern is placed like that. Then if I draw a bias, that angled diagonal design, means I have to draw the grain line in bias direction. So in the three different true bias means we'll get the design in 45 degree exactly. So for this only the grain line is being drawn in the pattern. Okay, this is the number one use. The second one is, and the pattern should be placed perfectly straight in the pattern, straight in the fabric. Okay, so if I'm using a small fabric means I can easily see whether I can just place the fabric pattern or not. See here the pattern is perfectly placed. Okay, I can see here. But in a garment factory in mass production, they were using big with fabric in maximum greater width of fabric they are using. So big tables were there. One person will stand this side, another person will stand that side, and we can see properly whether the pattern has been placed on the fabric in straight condition or not. For that, what we have to do, you know, first we have to place the pattern, then we have to measure the selvage or table end to the this portion of the grain line, and again we have to measure and we have to note that measure, then we have to measure this selvage end to the fabric grain. If both the measurements are equal, then we can judge that the pattern has been perfectly placed on the fabric. Suppose if the dimension, if the measurement is less and if the measurement is, this measurement is more, means the pattern is a little bit tilted this direction. And if the measurement is greater than this measurement, means the pattern is towards slightly tilted in this direction. So already we discussed that if the pattern is in tilted condition or slight is not in straight condition, means it affects the grain of the fabric, automatically it will affect the drape of the fabric. Okay, so for that only, for checking the pattern placement of the fabric, the grain line is very much used. For that, we have to do, while drawing grain line of the pattern, we have to follow properly by using a set square and long scale, and we have to draw a perfect grain line. So normally what the people are doing, simply they are just taking one scale and they are put one grain line. All are thinking that the grain line is only, we have to draw, that's all, but we have to draw in that way only they are thinking, but they are not actually, they doesn't know what is the real use. For that, we have, while drawing grain line, we have to use set square and long scale, and the grain line should draw at least 90% of the pattern length. See, suppose if the distance is 100 centimeter, means total pattern length 100 centimeters, I have to draw at least 90 centimeter, 80 to 90 centimeter, I have to draw the grain line. For example, I'm saying, sorry, example I'm saying. So the grain line should minimum, the length of the grain line should have minimum at least 80% of the total fabric length. Then only we can check whether, I already told you know, I have to check the distance between the selvage and this edge of the grain line, and I have to check the selvage and edge of the grain line. So I have to compare the two distance, two measurements. If the both are same only, I can judge that the pattern has been placed properly on the fabric. So for checking, the length of the grain line should be at least 80 to 80% of the pattern length. That's very, very important. Okay. Then notches. Notches are the identification marks which is used for balancing the components of the garments while sewing. See here the notches. So we have to mark the notches. Notches are identification mark. For example, that sleeve end will just sleeve center will put one notch, will mark one notch, and armhole sleeve pitch will put one notch. Because so while sewing, I have to balance, I have to check whether the two parts, yesterday we were discussing about the pattern, the curve matching, you know. So in that way, while sewing also, the balance should be properly followed. For that, with the help of the notch, we can easily check, we easily judge that whether the two pieces have been balancedly attached or not. For that only, we are putting mark. So this called as notches. Normally different type of notches are there. We can manually mark notch with the help of small scissors. Otherwise, one instrument, a punching machine like that, one notcher is there. In industrial, a big notching machine is also there. With the help of that notches, we can create different shapes of notches. There are different shapes of notches, T notch, U notch, and different shapes are also available. So different types of notches are available. So notches are the identification marks which are used for balancing the components of the garment while sewing. Okay. And some of the symbol keys. Symbol keys are the short forms of measurement used in pattern drafting. For example, CF means center front, CB means center back, BP bust point, SS side seam, SW side waist, SH shoulder, HBL horizontal balance line, SHTIP shoulder tip, etc. So we have to use for a spec sheet, for giving some instructions, means every time you can't write center front or center back line, center front line, but like that. So these are the small notations we are using. This is called as symbol keys. So symbol keys are the short forms of measurements used in pattern drafting. Normally it's measurements, and at the same time we can take some pattern particulars also. Pattern particulars in the sense that after completing the pattern, after cutting the pattern, we have to draw the grain line. After the grain line, we have to mark the notches and the hemline, folding line, everything, cutting line, everything. And finally, we have to finish with the pattern particulars. What means the name of the garment, size of the garment, and how many pieces we are going to cut. And these are the and style number. These are the things we have to write. So if anything we have to mention the pattern, means we have to need not write center front, center back like that. Instead of that, near the center back line, we can write CB, center back line, CB, ESS like an we can write. These are called as symbol keys. See, also while discussing, see some of the lines terms also we have to use while draping as well as pattern making also. See, shoulder line, neckband, PL princess line, and this is bust line, and center front line. This is a center front line. Back side B, that is called a center back line. This is waistline. So this is hip line, and it's a horizontal balance line. Horizontal balance line means a reference to any line marked around the form that is parallel with the floor, known as horizontal balance line. The horizontal balance line helps when balancing the pattern. See, in some of the designs manipulation method, we will just sometimes we can just convert into two parts like that. And while drawing also we have to do some modifications. That time we have to check with the one line. Normally with the help of the bust line, with the help of the hip line, we can just check whether both the top and bottom portions are matching. Like that, here also in bodies garments also the bust line can be used as HBL, horizontal balance line, while creating different styles. So like that, see, we are symbol keys also. See here, neckband, PL, princess line, bust line, center front, VL, HBL, like that we are noting. Okay. And also apart from that symbol keys, we are using some pattern symbols also. So this means this is grain line. This is place on fold, means this a fold. The pattern should be, the fabric should be folded while cutting, while cutting the garment. And notches, and these are buttonhole, dot, square shapes. So these are the symbols. We are just these symbols are used to indicate the pattern properties. Actually, in shortly saying, if one in industry or as well as in our homemade and tailor-made garments also, if you are using patterns, means if a person just simply going through one pattern, means he can easily understand all the important specifications and measurements and cutting related the properties, including everything with the help of pattern. So we have to mark all the important particulars like symbol keys, pattern symbols, and other notations in the pattern, definitely. So if any person can see the pattern and he can easily understand with the help of the that pattern symbols and key, what we are going to do with the pattern, in what way we have to cut the garment, like that anybody can easily understand. In that way only we have to prepare the pattern. Okay. And other important term is normally in pattern making as well as sewing we are using fork. So somebody may know, somebody may not know. It's all somebody may refer as crotch or fork. So this line is called as fork line. Front fork line. This is back fork line. Somebody may write, that is also correct, this is crotch point. Somebody may tell that crutch, C-R-U-T-H, like that is also correct. Crotch or crutch are correct. So fork line or that crutch line all are same only. In trouser, the fork is a point where the two legs are joined. See, this is a fork point or crutch point. So fork point or crutch point, it is also called as crutch. So why I'm just selecting the term means somebody may just make getting confusion that fork is different or crutch is different, all are same only. So actually it's a fork line, and normally we can use that crutch line also. So like hip measurement. Hip measurement is a comfortable word. In some of the tailoring books, it been written as seat measurement. Seat measurement is a seat is not a comfortable word. So instead of that seat, we are using hip in that way only, and a fork, crutch like that. So, and another one, thigh. Somebody may know thigh can be defined as the circumference of the armhole. So this is known as thigh. So this is front arm thigh or arm thigh. Front arm thigh, back arm thigh. So somebody may tell that in industry mass production, they are using armhole, front armhole, back armhole. This is known as armhole depth. Okay. So like that, this measurement normally they are using this side depth, long arm side depth like that. So side depth we are using, and like we have seen fork, fork like that, we are using the term thigh. Okay, that's a thigh can be defined as a circumference of the armhole. And also dot, all may know. Somebody may getting confusion at dot intake. So dot point is different, dot leg is different, dot intake is different. Because the trainers or our teachers know very well, but you are the students, you may getting confusion sometimes. So for that only I take dot intake means, what do you mean by dot actually? Dot is a one important, dot is a very, very important for shape and fitting. It is coming under the topic of fullness. So introducing fullness, you might have studied, and fullness means we have to introduce, we have to apply dots, pleats, tucks, and flare, godet, shirring, gathering, and that frill, all together. It's all are coming under introducing fullness. Introducing fullness in the sense, after introducing the fullness only, the garment is getting its completeness. See, normally fullness are introduced for mainly for functional fitting related as well as decoration purpose also. If I'm not introducing fullness also, no problem, and I can stitch a garment without dot also, no problem, without pleat also, no problem. I can use that garment, but it won't get 100% fitting. So it won't give the 100% shape silhouette. So for that only we have to use. If they are using dot, pleat, tucks, flare, godet, whenever required, wherever required we are doing, then only the garment is getting his 100% completeness, 100% usage. So hence these terms are called as fullness. Okay. So here dot is mainly used for shape and fitting. Okay. So the normally we are giving the allowance, the allowance. This allowance is called. Normally somebody may tell that dot width. Normally we are using dot width, and this is dot length. So the dot width also may referred as dot intake. The amount of excess or space confirmation between dot legs is known as dot intake. This is one dot leg, and another one is dot leg. This is dot point. So this is called as dot intake. Okay, so this one important term. And while discussing yesterday, before yesterday also discussing about spec sheet. Spec sheet is a record of specifications and requirements of a garment design. It contains the entire design feature and sewing instructions of a garment for production. Normally the spec sheet, specification sheet only, shortly we just pronouncing as spec sheet. It is the main important one normally we are using in garment factory. So it should have all the particulars. See, one model garment spec sheet has been given this diagram. A spec sheet should contain actually, while discussing pattern yesterday also I told you design. The design is a must one. We have to draw the design. Design means we have to draw front and back. Then only the design. A design of the garment means it should indicate front and back both are required. Suppose if you draw only one side means it's automatically understood that front and both sides are similar. Suppose I am drawing only one side of the garment. I forgot to draw the back side of the garment. So automatically it's understood that the front and back portions of the garment are similar. So design means we have to draw front and back shape. That is very important. So here the front and back shape is given. And see, yesterday I told you, the style number. See, style number is given, and date, category, size, season, and design name, everything is given, and measurements also is given. Okay, and what type of fabric we are using, important stitching particulars and trims and accessories, everything will be given. And normally, and somebody may use this in that way. They will give all the details, including fabric swatches also in some of the industries. And some of the industries will give only design, measurement, and sewing related details only. And the fabric swatches, the trims, closures, what you are going to use, the packing method, packing materials, everything we just given in another card. Normally they are calling as trim card, like that. So spec sheet and trim card is separately they will give. Otherwise, normally they may use pattern chart also. A pattern chart is a complete record of all pattern pieces within the pattern set. It also includes swatches and the pattern information. So pattern chart means is a complete record of all pattern pieces within the pattern set. So with the pattern, they give all the details about the pattern, about the garment, the spec sheet details, as well as the fabric swatches and the fasteners or closures samples, and if any other thing, the embroidery, anything extra decorative item with everything, they will all together, they will give one pack in some of the industries. That is called as pattern chart. Okay, both are similar, only a little bit different, that's all. Somebody may tell that spec sheet, and one pattern chart and spec sheet is not a format. It depends upon company to company, concern to concern. Somebody may include that number of machines are used in that executing the order, and the number of that stitches and and what are the seam type we have to follow, what are the stitch types to be followed in each and every portion. For example, see, armhole means we have to follow plain seam, and 3-thread overlock we have to use, and for side we have to use the feed off arm machine, and what type of stitch, like that, everything they will give. Okay, it's not having a defined format. The presentation and designing the spec sheet and pattern chart may vary company to company, concern to concern. Okay, so, and some of the term we have to, some of the fabric terms we just see. Texture. Texture is a term used to define a characteristics like feel, appearance, or consistency of surface of the fabric. It is used to say maximum. Normally they just some people may getting confusion, right? Texture is only showing the design of the fabric, and it's only denotes the that only the thickness and thinness of the fabric. It's not like that. Texture is a common term. It is used to define the characteristics of the fabric. See whether the fabric is smooth or rough, whether the fabric is thick or thin, whether it's transparent or transparent. So normally all we are doing, see if I'm going to purchase one saree or one fabric into shop means, I'll just first what I'll do, while after selecting that fabric, I just asked the shopkeeper to bring the fabric. Then afterwards what I'm doing, I'm simply checking, I'm just touching the fabric and I'm just checking whether I'm touching, whether it's a smooth or rough. I'm checking the thickness, whether it's thick fabric or thin fabric. Then I just put my hand behind the fabric and check whether the fabric is very transparent or non-transparent. Transparency of the fabric. This all together, it is called, a single word is called as texture. Okay. See, different textures has been given. So like that, it's only see whether it's a thick or thin, transparent, or different types of textures are simply given. That's all. Okay. Another one term, pile. Pile means the upright change of fabric as in fur, corduroy, turkey towel. See, in turkey towel, you see some of the protruding, that's this portion that loops like that. This is called as pile. Okay. So so in turkey towel also this is known as pile. In fur fabric also the protruding threads, this called as pile fabric. So example of pile fabric is fur, corduroy, turkey towel. These are the examples of pile fabrics. Okay, and pile fabric is different. So pile fabric is also they are being made with the help of weaving only. They will introduce 1/3 set of yarn, that is forming loop. After forming loop, the loop will be cut with the help of trimmer or some heat process. They will be fused. Then the loops have been released as individual threads. In this process, they are preparing pile fabric. So for example, I am just telling different techniques are being followed. So somebody may tell that brushed fabric, pile fabric are same like that. And brushed fabric is different, pile fabric is different. Somebody may tell that brushed fabric is also coming under pile like that. So brushed fabrics in a sense, normally what they will use, they will prepare at coarse yarns, coarse count yarns in twill fabric like that they manufactured, and they just do with the help of the brushing machine. Brushing machine means a roller is having lot of small teeth, and it will the fabric is while passing, it will just tear the it will just rub the fabric surface. The fabric surface, the fibers have been released and we are getting some smoothy, spongy effect, that is called the brushing effect. So the brushed fabric is different, the pile fabric is different. And this another important term is interfacing. Normally we are using the term canvas. Colloquially we are using canvas. The canvas is not a right word. Interfacing is a right word. So one apparel student should know what is lining, what is interlining, what is phasing, what is interfacing. For example, lining means if I'm using one transparent fabric, so I have to cover the transparency. Inside I'm using some material. See, from some while stitching sari blouse also, we are using inside some material to avoid transparency, to avoid the irritation of embroidery and zari work like that we are using. That is called as lining. Okay, and what do you mean by phasing? Phasing the sense, if one piece pattern component, we are using the duplication of the pattern component behind below that component. That is called as phasing. See, for example, this is my collar. This is my collar. So collar is actually, this is a collar piece, and downside I'm using this collar phasing. So cuff, this is cuff. So inside I'm using, that is cuff phasing. Cuff phasing, collar phasing. So phasing means the same, actually what the components having the similar shape and measurement, size, everything, the same We are just use the apply to cut the another part, that is called as phasing. Phasing, while the name is coming, means if I'm seeing the mirror and I seeing the my face in the mirror, means exactly the mirror will reflect the exact my face only. In that way, the piece, the duplication of the piece, which component which is used to support or to add strength to under a layer, that is called as phasing. So interfacing in the sense, if one fabric is used phasing a component and is phasing, that is called as interfacing, because the fabric between the component is phasing. See, this is my collar. This is collar phasing. Inside I'm using collar interfacing. So this is cuff. Inside cuff phasing. In the between I'm using interfacing, cuff interfacing. So normally what we are writing, while writing also we are writing collar 2, collar band 2, cuff 2, cuff 4, like that we are writing parts of the garment. Actually the correct method is collar 1, collar phasing 1, collar band 1, collar band phasing 1, cuff 2 and cuff phasing 2. In that way only we have to write. So in the middle we are using, normally we are telling that canvas, like that. That material we are using for 3 important properties. One is for shape, another one is strength, another one is stiffness. You please keep it in mind, 3 S's, the interfacing 3 S. One is shape, another one is strength, another one is stiffness. For this we are using a fabric like bakram we are using, that is called as, normally we refer as canvas. It's not a canvas, it's known as interfacing. The fabric which is used between a part and its phasing is called as interfacing. So interfacing is used for shape, strength and stiffness. The similar way, a fabric which is used between a part and its lining is known as interlining. See, some coat, blazer, what we are using, blazers, coats are having the fabric inside its phasing will be there, and in between they are using, some are adding like that, we are using some component, is called as interlining. Okay, so as apparel technology, apparel student, we should know what is phasing, what is lining, what is interfacing, what is interlining. We have to differentiate clearly. Okay, and discussing lining, interfacing also, there are 2 types of interfacing are used. One is woven interfacing, another one is non-woven interfacing. Actually, while discussing fabrics, we can classify into fabrics into different types. One is woven fabric, another one is knitted fabric, and third one is non-woven fabric. So woven fabric is made with the help of warp 2 sets of yarn. One is warp yarn, another one is warp yarn. Both are interlaced with the help of a machine called loom. And knitted fabric is used, the knitted fabric is being created by interlooping the fabric thread with the help of a machine called knitting machine. And non-woven is being created by fibers and chemicals with the help of chemical bonding. All fibers are mixed together, and it's finally we are getting one sheet form of fabric, that is known as non-woven fabric. And whether we are using woven interfacing or non-woven interfacing, 2 types of interfacing are available. One is fusible interfacing, another one is non-fusible interfacing. Fusible interfacing means the interfacing back side, wrong side of the interfacing having some one coating, gum coating will be there, and with the help of that we can easily attach. Non-fusible means the fabric, the interfacing is not having any resin coating or gum coating, so we have to stitch and attach only. So normally in industry and as well as in domestic sector also, fusible interfacing are mainly used because it's user friendliness as well as it's minimizing our time. Okay, and fraying or fabric fraying. What do you mean by fabric fraying? Turning of cut thread or slippage of thread. Fraying occurs when a fabric is cut and threads that make the fabric begin to unravel. See, if I'm cutting, suppose if the fabric is firm, its cover factor has very good cover factor, means it won't the fabric yarn raveling. See, the yarn will ravel one by one like that. See, while cutting, I should not keep the fabric as it is. I just I'm just shifting to sewing section. I'm just keeping here and there like that. At the same time, what will happen? One by one, the yarn is being raveled. Like that, finally, what will happen? So the measurement also, see, if 3 or 4 yarns raveled means what will happen? I'll lose at least 5 millimeter of the measurement. Okay, this nature, it's normally happen almost of the type of fabric, and some of the maximum, some of the fabric is having the fabric fraying capacity is very less, and some of the fabric it is having the tendency of more fabric fraying. The speed and extent which will fabric fray depends upon many factors, including the tightness of the fabric's weave, how much wear the fabrics endures on a day-to-day basis, and age of the fabric. Depending upon the age of the fabric, depending upon the day-to-day how much we are using, and at the same time the fabric fraying will happen after stitching also. For that only we are mainly giving the seam finish edges by using 3/3 overlock. We are using 5/3 overlock using while we are giving overlock, while we are applying seam finish. Seam finishes are used to protect the seam, and it's used to protect fabric fraying. It's avoiding the yarn raveling, fabric fraying or yarn raveling. Okay, it's very important. Some of the fabrics in mass production, while we are using, after cutting, while shifting also, it will 2 or 3 yarns will automatically raveled while handling. That much that much fabric fraying property, some of the fabric will lose. For that only we are using stay stitching. I'll explain the next coming slide. What do you mean by stay stitching? Okay. Another one is tacking. Tacking, basting, both are same only. What do you mean by tacking? It is a long running stitch used to easily hold seam or trim in place until it can be permanently sewn by hand or machine. This is called as basting. So actually the correct method is normally while we are using some delicate styles, particularly for some garments like coat, we should not stitch immediately. We should not sew the garment immediately by using machine. First we have to do the tacking. So tacking is nothing but a long running stitch. So after checking fitting, then only after trial only, if any fitting problem any there means after that sorting the problem, then only they will do machine stitch, particularly the garments like coats and blazer. Okay, like that you see some of maximum the foreign tailoring books and foreign fashion technology books, while explaining the sewing process, first in all the garments, all the process, they will tell that first we have to do the tacking. After tacking only, near tacking only, we have to do the machine stitch. Then we have to remove the tacking, like that. They are just telling. But for in our Indians and China Indian book, and we are normally we are very expert in sewing, and we are directly stitching. We are directly sewing the garment without any tacking. But if you are using some delicate fabric, very costly fabric, means it's better to tack first and see and check whether it's the both pieces have been sewn properly. Then we have to do the machine stitches. Okay, there are different types of basting are there. Normally nowadays bastings are used, tackings are used as a temporary stitches. But stitches can be defined as 2 types. One is temporary stitches, another one is permanent stitches. Even basting, uneven basting, diagonal basting, slip basting, these are all called temporary stitches. Nowadays we are using temporary stitches in normal method. Basting are being used as a temporary stitches. Okay. And Tailor's tack, some of them doesn't know what a Tailor tack is. A marking method made in a fabric that is accurate and easily removed. This is probably the best marking method for most fabric, although not the most efficient, like very lightweight silk and tightly woven taffeta, in which they can't use pin marking. See, I'm using one fabric. I have to mark the dot. In what in normal method, what I do with the help of marking chalk, I'll mark the dot. I'll mark the dot. And some of the fabric, very smooth fabric, if I'm marking also, it won't take marking chalk. While handling 2 or 3 times, automatically we can't see the marking clearly. It will disappear. It will vanish due to the fabric property. Okay. At the same time, we can't use pencils or pens because it will create stains. Sometimes it won't. It can't be removed sometimes. So for the silk and other taffeta, like the lightweight materials, we can use Tailor stacks. So what do you mean by Tailor stack means? We are making one tacking like this, tacking like this. The middle I am tacking. So and like this, and simply I'm just forming on loops. Tacking means nothing but I can just doing the bossing with big loops. Then after completing, I have to cut the loops. Then it will look like this. So after constructing the dot, I can easily remove this tacking. So this is called as Tailor tack. Tailor tack is mainly used as a marking process. So we can use Tailor stacks to mark dots, squares, buttonholes, or anything inside the cutting line. So normally we are follow Tailor tacks for some lightweight silk and taffeta and some other fabrics only we are using. Okay. And seam. See, what do you mean by seam? Seam can be defined as a method of joining two, I'm sorry, tau is wrongly typed, two, TWO, two or more pieces, a row of stitching. Okay. Actually, sewing, stitching, both are different. Stitching is a process. Stitching is a process. I am making stitches. Stitching is a process to make stitches in a fabric. That is called as stitching. Sewing means joining two pieces that with the help of stitching, that only sewing. Normally we are using sewing, stitching both. Normally the correct method, as per my logic, correct method is stitching is used for single fabric only, single piece of fabric, handkerchief stitching, curtain stitching. So one napkins, so like that, one small piece of fabric. So this called as stitching. But sewing is used for that garments. The garment is not a single piece, having a combination of several components. So garment sewing means actually for garment sewing, shirt sewing, because shirt is not a single piece, it's having many number of pieces. Blouse sewing, like that, we have to use that term. So on the basis sewing, like we are simultaneously we're using seam also. Seam can be defined as a method of joining two or more pieces by a row of stitching. If I'm joining two pieces means I can put one stitch, that one is method. I can join again a right side would put one stitch, that is one method. And after wrong side stitching, I put one top stitch, that is one. So different methods are there. Anyhow, the ultimate result is joining the two pieces only. But different ways, different methods we are using to join the two pieces. Each method is called as each seam. So this is lap seam. You know, you might have studied different types of seams. You might have studied in types of seam. And seam finish also mainly used to cover the seam edges, which is used, already we discussed, which is used to protect the fabric from fabric fraying or fabric yarn raveling. See, and some of the terms we should know about seams. One is conspicuous seam. Conspicuous seam is visible. Visible in the sense, in the right side of the garment, the stitches are visible. Example, top stitch seam. See, top stitch seam, the right side of the fabric, right side of the garment, we can easily visible, we can notice the stitches. So these called as visible seam. Other term, conspicuous seam. Inconspicuous, non-visible, invisible seam, that is called as plain seam. See, plain seam, wrong side only we can see the stitches. Right side of the fabric, right side of the garment, we can see the stitches. So this is inconspicuous seam. And according to the thickness of the seam, we can tell flat seam, ridge seam. So plain seam is very thin, so it is called as, it's coming under a variety of flat seam. And fritz and some of the seams like French seam and Mantova maker seam is having very good bulky seams, and that is heavy seam, that is called as ridge seam. So these are the terms we should know. According to the visibility, we should classify the seams into conspicuous seam and inconspicuous seam, and according to the nature of the thickness, and we can we can classify the seams into two varieties. One is flat seam, another one is ridge seam. Okay. And SPA means stitches per inch. As a apparel student, we should know very well. And what do you mean by stitches per inch? See, this is 1 inch. Suppose here to 1 inch means, so here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 stitches are there, no? So stitches per inch is 8. Why we have to know about stitches per inch? We have to select the stitches per inch according to the fabric texture. If you are using heavy fabric means we have to reduce the stitches per inch. We are having the that very light fabric means we have to use more number of SPA. That term we should definitely know, stitches per inch. And scissors and shears we know. One, I select the term means somebody may confusing that that both are same only, but it actually scissors is different, shears is different. Scissors have symmetrical equally sized finger holes and are generally under 6 inches in blade width. So scissors means it should be below 6 inches. See, the two finger holes are same, and the two blades are same, and the middle rivet is normally being used. This is known as scissors. But shears have one smaller finger hole, one larger finger hole, and more than 6 inches blade inch. More than the shears normally have more than 6 inches. And a finger hole, one is a large one for one is a small finger hole, that is for our thumb. Another one is large finger holes that are remaining 4 finger, index finger, little finger, baby finger, like that we are inserting in this hole. And see here normally screw and nut are being used. Nut and screw and nut, screw bolt are being used in the middle. And the two blades also different. See, one blade is like this, one knife is like this, another blade is like this. So this is shears. And shears also two types of shears are there. One is left-handed, another one is right-handed shears. You can see the left-handed, right-handed shears easily. Okay. So these are the main difference between scissors and shears. Normally we are using, you take the scissors like that. Normally for using pattern making, we are using scissors, and while using fabric cutting, we are using shears. Somebody may think that both are same. Somebody may mispronounce that as commonly as scissors only. That's a totally wrong one. And stay stitching is very, very important one we should know. Already I told you know about fabric fraying. Suppose if I'm using on fabric which is having lot of fabric capacity. So what will happen, you know? Suppose after cutting, the fabric may lose 2 or 3 yarns means automatically it will affect the neck shape. Okay. At the same time, some fabric is having very more stretchability. So whiling also, while just transporting that, while transferring the fabric to one table to another table also, it will lose the shape because of that stretchiness. So immediately what we have to do, know, after cutting immediately, actually this is the cutting line means between the cutting line and fabric edge or near the cutting line, we have to stitch by using machine stitch. So this stitch is used to protect the fabric from fabric fraying, as well as it protect and it's maintain the shape of the neck and armhole. Okay, so this is called as stay stitching. Stay stitching is a single line of stitching through one layer of fabric It is soon to stabilize the fabric and prevent it from becoming stretched or distorted. Okay. So see, normally using stage stitching for neck means I have to do for in that way first. I have to make stitches from here to here. Then only I have to use here to here. Okay. This process is called as stay stitching. Okay. If you are using some most to protect the shape arm, particularly in neck and armhole, we have to use stay stitching. Sorry. And gorge. So gorge means circle and curve of the neck, normally defined as gorge. So gorge is normally is a circle and curve of the neck. Normally it will denote the neck depth and neck depth and neck curve. The term somebody may use, that is known as gorge. Okay. Vent. Somebody also having confusion that vent and slit. Somebody may think both are the same. Actually, vent is different, slit is different. Vent means we are doing opening overlapped manner. See, normally in safari suit, the body garment of the safari suit having backside a vent, and coat also the vent like this. So vent means we are giving opening here, but the opening are overlapped. See, the both pieces being overlapped, and here we are using blind stitch. We are using the blind stitching. We are using. So if the opening is in overlapped condition, we can say that it is vent. And slit means when the opening is not overlapped. See, here the opening is there. Normally we are using our kameez and kurta, the kurta end we are using side. We are using, that side seam bottom portion, that opening, that is called as slit. That is the difference between slit and vent. And closures. And maximum we are using the term fasteners only. Fasten means fixing or joining like that. And buttonhole like that. But closures means it's a common term. Buttons, fasteners, zips, all together we can tell closures. Okay, closures is a rare term. Normally we are using fasteners. So sometimes what we can use, fasten means both pieces should be fixed. Button and buttonhole or snaps, fixed buttons, snaps. These are hooks and eyes like that. Fasten. Sometimes we may use zip we are using. Sometimes when use eyelet and cords. Eyelet and cords is like a shoelace only. Shoelace, see, it's not fastening, it's joining the pieces. So these buttons, snaps, all together we can call as fasteners, but all together, zip, toggles, drawstring, frog, all together we can call as closures. So that's the difference between closures and fasteners. And shank also. A shank means a shank is a device for providing a small amount of space between garment and a button. So see, it button, we are using this bottom portion of the button is known as shank. Okay, the shank is used to give small space between fabric and button. This is shank. The same time, another shank, the term is used in machine needle also. The top portion, this portion of the machine needle is called as shank. And flounces, somebody doesn't know about this. Flounces mean nothing but a frill or ruffle which is having wider width is called as flounces. If you are using the frill in a wider width, then it is called as flounces. Okay. And panel. Panel means any part can be divided into equal or unequal parts. Each part can be divided as panel. So for example, this is the panel shirt. The back part is divided into 3 parts. Each part is called as panel. Okay. And gore. So gore is different. If the panel is wedge shaped one. Panel means it may be an equal one or unequal one. But normally in the skirt we are cutting wedge shaped piece, that is called as gore. goat skirt we are normally using. Sorry.
Sir, you have 5 minutes left, sir.
Okay, sir, I'll finish. And also there's some yoke. Normally we're using different types of yoke. Yoke is a pattern divided into two pieces horizontally. If you are dividing a pattern piece into two parts, normally the top part will be a smaller top part is called as yoke. Skirt also can be divided above the hip line into two parts. So the top portion is called as yoke. Okay, shirt also we are having back is divided into two parts. The top portion is called as yoke. Okay, yoke, a pattern divided in two pieces horizontally, then the top small portion is called as yoke. Okay, and culottes also, the variation of skirt which has been bifurcated in the center. See, culottes is a skirt, variation of the skirt. See here, the skirt is divided into two parts. So this is called as, somebody may pronounce culottes. The actual pronunciation is culottes. Culottes is also called as divided skirt. And somebody know motif, pattern and design. Motif means a small, see, design start motif. A small that picture, this a small a design in one small part of a design. If the motif plays in different way, it is called as pattern. If the patterns are repeating means this is called as design. So this is a motif, this is pattern, this is design. Okay. And structural design, if one garment is having inside the design is having, that is called as structural design. See, the designs is being created by the help of tacks, pleat, like that, you know. So this is called as structural design. The structural design is a design made by the size, shape, color, texture of an object. Okay. Decorative design means the design in which the surface ornamentation is used. So instead of tux place like that, we create the garment, then we are applying embroidery or smocking or fagoting or upleg or lace. We are just using for decoration. No? So this is called as decorative design. Okay. And apart from some of the terms also being used, AQL accepted quality level, FL front length, CBL center back length, BW back width, HPS high point shoulder. High point shoulder means here. It's a intersection of shoulder line and neckline. CMT means cutting, making and trimming. Normally it's used in apparel knitted industry. CF center front, single needle top stitch SNTS, double needle top stitch DNTS. PPS na pre-production sample. BD button down. Button down means here having a buttonhole in tip of the collar and one button below, that means that is known as button down. It's normally in collar, button down. SS short sleeve, LS long sleeve, like that. Many terms are there. And OIL overlock, SQC statistical quality control, TQM total quality management, GSM grams per square meter. Okay, lot of the terms are there, but time not permit to explain all the terms. And I have selected some of the important terms. Normally we are used at the same time, some of the rare terms also. Anyhow, all the terms as apparel technology trainee, you should know very well. I think you might have just got some valuable information, I hope. And nearly 104 participants are there. They are patiently just watch my lecture. Thank you. I am not able to clear out doubts due to the shortage of time. Anyhow, thanks for this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.